Even though the garden is pretty much done, the fruit trees are just ripening and now it's time to put up pears. The apples aren't quite ready, but the pears were, so we picked all the fruit and got about 1/4 of a bushel off this 3-year-old tree. Now to get them prepped and jarred so I can get them canned. After washing and peeling 10 pounds of the pears, I cut the flesh into chunks and immediately soaked them in water with lemon juice to keep them from browning. I'm saving the peels and cores for another project. Nothing will go to waste today. Once I had about 14 cups of pear chunks prepared, I made a light syrup of 1 cup of honey in 4 cups of water. You can use sugar or maple syrup to make the syrup for your fruit, but I love the taste honey gives to the fruit. It's not the cheapest way to make syrup, but I think it's the tastiest. After mixing the honey and the water together in a large saucepan, I brought it to a light boil, then added the pear chunks and brought it back to a boil. I packed the hot pears into the hot jars to about 1 inch below the rim, then added hot syrup to bring the level up to 1/2 inch of headspace. After debubbling the jar, I added more syrup to bring the level up to the 1/2 inch. I'm steam canning these pears, so I had a light boil going in the steam canner. Then I loaded the jars, put the lid on, and turned the heat up to high to get a good boil going. By the way, welcome to the old Mayfield place. I'm Snow the farmer's wife, and I teach you to be more self-sufficient in so many ways, such as growing your own food, using herbal medicine, and preserving food for long-term storage. Once the canner was full of steam to the point that the steam was escaping from the steam hole and around the edges, I set the timer for 10 minutes to allow the steamer to completely fill with steam. After 10 minutes, I reset the timer for the 20-minute processing time for pints. If you're canning quarts, you need to process for 25 minutes. After the appropriate time was up, I turned off the heat and allowed the canner to sit for at least 5 minutes before I opened the lid. This is part of the processing time, so don't skip this step. Once I opened the canner, I waited another 5 minutes before moving the jars to a towel on the counter. The jars will sit here for at least 12 to 24 hours before I touch them again. Now that the pear chunks are done, I'm going to use the peels and cores to make some pear jelly. I put the scraps into a pot and barely covered them with water. I brought this to a boil and then I dropped the heat to simmer it for about 2 hours. Then I strained the juice through a dishcloth to get a clear juice. I needed 5 cups of juice to make this batch of jelly, and I got 6 cups, so all was good. After rinsing the pot out, I put the juice back in and added a package of pectin and whisked it briskly until it was completely dissolved. I brought this to a complete boil before I added 7 cups of sugar all at once, stirring until it came back to a boil. Once I had a good rolling boil, I stirred constantly and let it boil for 1 full minute. During this time, I added 1 pat of butter to keep the foaming to a minimum. Do not adjust the sugar or you will have syrup, not jelly. The sugar activates the pectin, so you must use the appropriate amount to get it to set up. Also, make sure that you let the jelly boil for a full minute after the sugar is added. I ladled the jelly into 1/2 pint jars, leaving a 1/4 inch headspace, then placed the jars into the steam canner to process for 10 minutes. Then I waited for 5 minutes after turning off the heat before I opened the canner. These jars were placed under the towel next to the canned pear chunks. So out of about 10 pounds of pears, I got 6 pints of chunks and 7 pints of jelly processed and put into our pantry to enjoy this winter. I also got another 1/2 pint of jelly that I didn't can but put straight into the refrigerator to enjoy immediately. It's delicious. Nothing went to waste. The strained out pulp from the cores and skins went to the chickens, who seemed to enjoy it. Thanks for stopping by the old Mayfield place today. Stay healthy, keep filling your pantry, and have a blessed week.